You are listening to Right Off the Bus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Right Off the Bus. I'm Chandler Hutchison. That's my fantastic co-host, Pat Mahoney. It is Wednesday, October 13th. And Pat, we got episode number 42. You know who we got for this number, man. We had to represent one of our favorite guests
Pat.
on the podcast. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Pancake Pat. Especially
was,
after that big win.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Ravens.
Coming off a huge win, so he's definitely deserving. And, the run game's always thriving, and that's at the hand of Pat Ricard. And I don't know if I don't know if they broke the record or not. I didn't even check that because they tied it last week with that last yard, that last rush. We would have to check. I don't know if Chandler could check quick for us, but I think it was at 43 straight of 100+ rushing yards. So
as a team, right?
Yeah, as a team. So we'll see if Pat Ricard could have led them to the 44th. I'm pretty sure Lamar had like 40 something on his own. So I would imagine that between
86 total yards rushing.
No, they didn't get it.
It's Lamar's fault for throwing 440 yards, man.
Yeah, I know. And he had half those rushing yards himself. We were just down the whole game. Yeah. Damn, so we didn't break it. Well, we still have a piece of the record. I think we share it with the Steelers, though, which I'm not happy about.
Yeah, out of any team that you could be sharing it with.
Not the Steelers.
But, man, episode 42, shout out to our boy Pat Ricard. Go check out that episode and that interview if you haven't listened to it, man. One of our favorite interviews. But, Pat, not a lot to talk about before we get in. But, man, we going to be making a little podcast appearance this week, dude.
Outside the normal show. Yeah, we'll be on our buddy Joe Braverman's podcast.
Yeah, let me speak, man. So obviously we'll talk about it next week, but we'll point everyone to that and try to get everyone to listen to that. Hopefully we can switch it up a little bit, Pat. I won't be saying too much of the same stuff, but
we'll get some different stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it'll be fun to hop on Joe's podcast, man. And it's the first guest appearances Pat and I have done together, so it'll be fun bringing the Right Off the Bus flavor to another pod. But it'll be a good time. But Pat, let's get into these headlines, man. That Ballon d'Or race is heating up, man. Top 30 candidates announced. I hate that they do top 30, man. They just need to put out like the top 3 to 5. Like,
because there's like at least 15 on that list that just have no business being there. Like, yeah, they were great, but they don't belong in anywhere near like the finalists. So, I mean, it's cool that people get acknowledged, but yeah, I agree with you.
It kind of seems like Messi's the shoo-in, but Lewandowski, after not winning that 2020 because they canceled it, I think has a shout here, Pat. He was a shoo-in to win last year, man. It's a shame that he didn't win that award because that really is the biggest individual award in soccer. So it's so unfortunate that he didn't get that win.
Total robbery, honestly, that he did not get it. They should have just had it because he deserved it fully. And that's why like my vote would be for him this year because he's also been on fire this year throughout 2021. Nationally and internationally. So I would vote for Lewandowski, but I'm not on the panel.
Messi's got the Copa, which means that he's winning, I believe, his 7th Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo has 5, man. So Messi's running away with that in that GOAT debate.
It seems like trophies have become more important for the Ballon d'Or. Like it's not just about your performance, but if you can win trophies too. Like that's why Jorginho was even on the list too. I mean, he's been great, but they also won, the Euros. So that'll be a big help.
Absolutely, man. And sticking in the soccer world, Newcastle announces this new Saudi-led ownership group, Pat. The memes have not been better in the world of soccer than in the last week. But I got to tell you, man, they are estimating that this ownership group is 13 times richer than Man City's ownership group, which is the richest ownership group in world football at 23 billion euros. This ownership group is projected over 340 billion euros, man. Endless cash. Who do you want to see him sign, Pat? Who's going to Newcastle?
I know, and that's the question. I had heard my buddy told me Philip Coutinho, maybe like that would be a possible move. That would be cool. I could see him in a Newcastle jersey, and they could sign anybody. I mean, they have so much money. Like thinking about what Man City were going to buy Jack Grealish for 100 million pounds and then buy Harry Kane. So it's like Newcastle could easily afford that. Especially with all the fans back too. I mean, they're in business.
I want Newcastle to just go straight FIFA mode and buy everybody. Like, I want them to spend the 150 on Erling Haaland. I want them to spend the 200 on Mbappe. I want them to just buy all of those great young players that are looking for new teams, man, because this is the new big team in world football. Whether you like it or not, Newcastle will be competing for trophies within the next 5 years internationally, man. It's nuts. People don't realize how big of a story that this is. The biggest story in the world of sports, man. This is nuts what's going on in Newcastle.
Yeah,
It's
because
crazy.
imagine if the Oakland A's got bought by like just Jeff Bezos or something. Like they go from like a small market club to, even though they're still small market, they're all of a sudden their owner just has insane money and they can afford, what the Yankees can afford.
Yeah.
It's just that would be like the equivalent for me.
Yeah, imagine if there were second Yankees with payrolls that were 25 times some of those bottom teams in the MLB. This is going to be pretty crazy. This is something to keep an eye on, and I'm sure we will. Sticking to baseball, man, since you brought it up, those Red Sox, man, no one thought we could do it, Pat. The Sox win the series against the Rays 3-1, 3 straight after dropping that first game in Tampa, dude. And I got to tell you, this Red Sox team, no one thought they could do it. They beat the Yankees. They beat the top seed in the AL. And, man, they looked so good doing it. The pitching staff isn't great. Couple overtime games, but you're still scoring 14 runs. You're still scoring 6 runs, 9 runs. And, man, this Red Sox team is having so much fun doing it. You see how much this clubhouse loves each other. You see how much they respect Cora. This team has been so much fun to watch. And even if we don't end up in the World Series, whether, if we beat the White Sox or the Astros, we beat the Yankees, we beat the Rays. This has been a super successful season, no matter what anybody says.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, but I think we can definitely get it done in the ALCS. I think if it's the White Sox, we have a better chance, but the Astros will be tougher. But I don't know if I said it before, but I think we can beat the Astros. I mean, I think we're definitely capable. The way we've played so far in the postseason, that's been unreal. So maybe the pitching hasn't been great, but our offense has made up for it. So that's the difference.
Yeah, can our pitching staff keep up? Because we can score 5-6 runs, but it doesn't really matter if the other team scores 8-9 runs, right? So we need that pitching staff to really come together, and we need Sale to look like Chris Sale. If we had an ace outside of Evaldi, because Evaldi's looked incredible, it would be a different story. But I'm loving this team, man. Fenway has been absolutely rocking, and I am absolutely going to a game during the ALCS, man. I got it. Dude, watching that Fenway crowd on TV, dude, I just need to be there. Like I'm itching to go.
Those tickets are going to be pricey. You'd have to be looking now too. I know my buddy went to 2 of the games already. He went to the wild card against the Yankees and then the series clincher against the Rays. So he was lucky to be able to go there. I know he just moved out to Boston, so just in time.
My brother's girlfriend was sending me the $9 student tickets for the ALDS. And I'm like, yo, keep sending those once the championship series comes around.
I was going to say, that's like the average price at Tropicana, but we got to get special student deals up here at Fenway.
Pat, we want to mention any of the rest of the MLB playoffs, or we want to move on?
Yeah, I just know the Braves are up 2-1, which was a surprise to me because I thought the Brewers would do well. But the Giants are the other team I root for because my cousins live in California and they're Giants fans, and they have a 2-1 lead over the Dodgers right now, which I'm shocked about because they have the pitching staff that they do, the lineup that they have. Their offense is just always good. Their pitching staff is even better. I mean, they picked up Max Scherzer, which is crazy, but the Giants won 1-0 last night, and then I saw them the guy pitched a gem the other night. So glad the Giants are up 2-1 there. And then the Astros beat the White Sox. So the Astros will actually be our opponent in the ALCS.
Oh, man. Hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to it. Who's going to steal more signs, Alex Cora or the Houston Astros, man? It's going to be interesting.
And someone accused the Astros of cheating again. I think someone on the White Sox did, but I'm sure they're not again. That would be kind of ridiculous if they got caught cheating again, but I hope they're not.
We'll have to wait and see what happens, man. Moving on to the NBA a little bit. I guess this is kind of the NBA. This is more the G League, but Liangelo Ball signs a G League contract, which means he'll be eligible for the G League draft, which means the team's going to end up picking him. We don't know where he'll be yet, but it's good to have another Ball brother in the league, man. I looked this up. He has more followers than 21 out of 30 NBA teams on Instagram. Even if he doesn't make a team, it would be huge to bring this guy in for a social presence. It really would. Great marketing opportunity for
absolutely
any GM out there.
Yeah, it'd be like a Taco Fall situation. They just have, the third Ball brother coming in, and his brothers are looking way better. So I hope he continues to get better too, because Lonzo's looking much better on the Bulls, and LaMelo's, he looked great last season. So hopefully Liangelo could as well.
Be nice to see all three of them in the league, man. That'd be pretty special. Ben Simmons reporting back to Philadelphia, and Pat didn't tell anybody, man. This was shocking. Wink got his COVID test, rejoined the team for practice.
Yeah, it was strange. I didn't expect that to happen at all. I don't know if it's because he was losing money for not showing up, like he wants that money, but I can't imagine that he's there to stay. Like I got to imagine they're still working on trades.
Yeah, and they're saying that Rich Paul, his agent, has been working around the clock trying to make a deal happen with this Philly front office. But I like that he's in the building, and I mean, this could potentially increase his trade value if he's playing and playing well, But some of the tweets have been hilarious, saying he's just going to start jacking 10 threes a game and sabotage this team any way he can. I don't think that'll quite happen, but it is an interesting situation to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, the Nets, man. Nets GM Sean Marks says Kyrie is sitting out until he's vaccinated. Do we think Kyrie's going to get vaccinated, Pat?
I don't think so. I don't see why he should at the same time, just because it's his beliefs. Like, and if he, it's going to screw over the Nets, and it's not fair to his teammates. But if we know Kyrie, we know he's going to stick to his guns. I don't think he'll get vaccinated. I just don't think he'll go through with it. I don't know about
Kyrie
you.
Gonna pass up on whatever he's making, $36 million? Is he not gonna play, man?
I know.
We said it the other week on the pod. If there's any guy in the league that would retire early and retire out of the blue and stick to his guns, it's Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah, it's like, and I said this today. I mean, he's just, to me, anyways, he's one of the most. He just causes so many problems, it seems, around the league, or at least he has for the last 5 or so years, ever since going to the Celtics and then to the Nets. It's like there's just so many problems surrounding him at this point. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he just was like, I'm done. I've made enough money. I retire, stick to my principles, and he goes on with his life.
What a loss this would be for the Nets and for just the NBA in general. He's a top 15 player in the league. He's one of the most exciting ever.
Absolutely.
He has the best handles ever, one of the clutchest players ever. But like you said, man, forced his way out of Cleveland, screwed over Boston, currently and in the past has screwed over the Nets. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on, because they said, no, he can't be a part-time player. He needs to get vaccinated in order to play. Kyrie, I don't like calling it selfish because it is a personal decision, but it's selfish when you look at the other 14 guys in that locker room that are making sacrifices and putting things forward for their team. So it'll be interesting. Thing is, though, Nets are still a favorite in the East without Kyrie Irving, in my opinion. James Harden gets more shots. Kevin Durant gets more shots. That doesn't sound so bad if you ask me.
Yeah, their situation's not bad at all. And then they picked up Patty Mills too.
Yeah.
So along with the roster they have, Paul Millsap, was that correct as well? Yeah. So with the lineup they have, it's like they're in fine shape, even without Kyrie. James Harden and KD can just get more touches.
Pat, story of the week here, man. Jon Gruden out as the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. Racist, sexist, homophobic, and other just terrible comments.
This is crazy.
From a 2011 email. Now, my understanding is this is part of a larger investigation into the Washington football team. And apparently now players are requesting that the other 650,000 emails that were part of that investigation into Dan Snyder and that whole ownership and everything, they're saying they want those to be released too. Because if Jon Gruden's saying these things, how many other coaches, strength trainers, assistant coaches, players are saying these things around the league? What are your thoughts on this whole situation, man? This is pretty crazy how fast this went down.
Yeah, because like, what are the responses to these emails that Gruden's sending? I saw a thing today. It was like, why isn't Snyder getting investigated too? Or like, just I don't know, maybe because he's the owner, but everyone should be getting investigated, because this is, I mean, it was so weird to me, because they came out with this one email and it was like this big thing, obviously. And the Raiders were kind of quiet about it. And then the NFL was like, all right, well, we have way more. And then more started coming out, like more terrible emails started surfacing. And then it kind of forced the Raiders' hand. And I think Mark Davis had to have a conversation with Gruden at the facility, and I'm sure it just came to a mutual thing. Gruden's like, yeah, I know, I got to step down. And Davis was like, yeah, it's probably for the best, because none of the players are going to respect him. None of the players in those locker rooms are going to respect him. They're probably not going to have love for him anymore. So yeah, he probably would have lost the locker room anyways. And I would say Urban Meyer is probably the happiest guy after. He stands to benefit the most from this entire controversy. 100%.
That is a funny truth that's hidden
Yeah.
in this whole thing for Urban. But yeah, you hit it on the head, man, with the lack of respect in the locker room. I mean, one, you're coaching a team with mostly black players on it, and you make a racial joke about the NFLPA executive director, DeMaurice Smith, who it is kind of interesting. I don't want to get into this, but he is up for re-election right now, and that voting's happening. So people are like, what convenient timing? Put that aside. It doesn't matter. Saying that women shouldn't be refereeing in the NFL, saying that you shouldn't draft Michael Sam in 2014, the gay player that was the first gay player drafted. Carl Nassib is the first openly gay player in the NFL, and he's on this roster.
Plays for Gruden.
How can your players have respect for you, man, when you're saying things like this? There's just no way. He had to go. You can say anything else about it. It doesn't matter. Jon Gruden had to go, and the Raiders made the right decision. Jon Gruden's out of the NFL for life. But, Pat, it does beg the question, what about all the other terrible things people do and say? I mean, you have players in the league that beat their wives. You have players in the league that have had 14 drug issues. You've had players in the league with domestic violence and this and that. So where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line when it comes to an email from 10 years ago, but not kicking Randy Gregory out of the league for beating his wife? Or, you know, it may not have been him. Randy Gregory has a lot of issues, but I shouldn't say that on him. for me, it's just like, where do we draw the line? Like, that's what this brings up to me, man, because compared to what some people do, it doesn't seem as bad. And I know it is, but compared to what some active players and coaches in the league have gone through, man, I mean, it's interesting.
No, there's definitely inconsistencies, because I mean, people will get a 4-game suspension for literally like domestic violence. It's unbelievable. There are inconsistencies, and that's not to justify obviously what Gruden did. And I mean, he should have lost a job, because I equate it to like my job. If something like that came out that I said, like, I mean, my boss would not be happy about that. And yeah, anywhere you work. If I worked anywhere, my boss would say that, and it would probably be a serious problem. Maybe some places you might not get fired, but I would say most you probably would. So, especially in such a public level like that, and such a high level. I mean, he's the head coach of the Raiders organization. There's no avoiding it.
Absolutely agree. But when Ray Rice knocks his girlfriend out in an elevator and drags her out by her hair and gets suspended 2 games the same time that Brady gets 4 games for deflating a couple footballs, I would just like some consistency from the NFL. That's all I want. But you know, you're never going to get that from, as Gruden calls him, anti-football Roger Goodell.
Yeah, the whole Ray Rice thing, like, it was almost up to the rest of the NFL and the teams to blackball him and made sure he never come back to the league. Like, if it was up to, you know, Goodell and whatever the power that be, I mean, he would have gotten the game suspension, and if someone wanted to roster him, they would have. But it was kind of up to the teams individually to not do that.
Pat, it's a sticky situation, but I think the Raiders made the right call at the end of the day. We definitely
100%.
Before we get into this Week 5 review, Pat, how do we do in fantasy this week, man?
Good. I won in all 3 of my leagues, which every time I say it, I'm like 3 is too many. But the biggest one was in my big money league. I was down 40 points, which is standard PPR scoring, down 40 points. I go to bed because I couldn't catch all the Ravens game. I mean, it looked bleak at halftime.
It did.
And all I have is Lamar Jackson. He is nobody. And so I go to bed. I'm like, oh, I definitely lost. I was still down like 30 at that point. I wake up. I had been down 40. Lamar has 41, and I won by 1 point. So I ended up winning that by 1 point on a last second comeback. So it was a good week for sure. But how did your teams do?
So it was another week where I was projected to lose by about 40, and I ended up with just some players balling out. Pat, I sent you a text. I'm missing 5 of my 7 positions.
This was unbelievable. Man. You scored so many points this week, and you have nobody.
No, I scored like 158, and 40 of them were for Justin Herbert, man. I'm missing McCaffrey, Montgomery, Kittle, Jarvis Landry, Julio Jones, but the boys got the dub, man. Jamar Chase has been balling out for me. You know, We've had some guys stepping up. Hunter Henry had a phenomenal week. So I feel like I got a little bit lucky. That's for sure.
And now you got McCaffrey coming back. So all is well.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping.
All is well for now.
We're going to, for now.
Well, I had Saquon and Saquon got hurt. So that's not good. I'm in the same situation now.
While I was at work today, I'm like deciding which of my 4 IR players to put in my IR spot. I was like, I'll put Kittle there for now. You know?
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
then you might drop someone else. You might not. Yeah, you got to put the most important one on the IR.
we'll see what the waiver wire says for me tomorrow, man. But Pat, let's dive into this. And you have it on here, man. Kickers, dude. Story of the kickers. I'm watching the Pats game, 3 extra points missed in a row.
Mhm.
We'll talk about that Bengals Packers game, but
Yeah,
13 missed extra points this week, missed field goals left and right. It was nuts this week with the kicking, dude.
it was really
Absolutely
bad.
crazy.
It was really bad. And then you had last night, Monday night, Rodrigo Blankenship missed the field goal to win it for the Colts. And granted, it was 47 yards and might have been a little windy, but hey, we got a little help. If he missed from 47 yards, it was yet another missed field goal. And that wasn't the extra points are really bad. I mean, 13 missed extra points is crazy. Those should be automatic every time out.
Yeah, realistically, an NFL kicker should hit 99% of the extra points.
99%.
Really should.
100%.
But Pat, starting this off, Thursday Night Football, the Rams take down the Seahawks, but that's not the story, man. It's Russell Wilson. They're saying he could be out 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8. Like he could be out for a while, man, with this finger injury. And I got to tell you, the season's looking a little bleak for the Seahawks if that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's not looking great. And I'm curious how the whole team will do in terms of Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, what's going to happen at running back with like Alex Collins and Chris Carson. I'm just curious how the rest of the team will perform because who's their quarterback now? Is it
Geno
Smith?
Baby. Geno time.
I completely forgot about that name. I remember him playing at like West Virginia back in the day and then coming in, he was on the Jets. And then I don't know where he floated around, but now he's taken over the Seahawks for at least, I don't know, like 4 weeks at least. And I'm curious to see how they'll do. That's a tough injury for Seattle.
Last rookie quarterback to beat Bill Belichick, Geno Smith, 2013.
Wow. That's a crazy stat. You wouldn't have expected it to be him.
Dude, I got to tell you, man, it's not looking good for Seattle with Geno Smith, the quarterback. He came out hot, then threw a costly pick. And I mean, this team is already so much just on Russell Wilson's back that, you know, I can't imagine that they're going to do much.
It was the worst injury that could have happened to them. Because you're right. He was the absolute spearhead of that team. And now they're just it's a dull stick at the end. It's just Geno Smith.
Yeah, you're talking about Pat Mahomes going down for the Chiefs. You're talking about Lamar going down for the Ravens. I mean, this is
absolutely
disaster time for Seattle. Now, the Steelers beat the Broncos. We both picked this game wrong, Pat, but Juju out for the season, man. Chase Claypool looked fantastic. Deontay Johnson looked fantastic. Steelers get the win to move to 2-3. Broncos to 3-2 after starting 3-0, man. These are two teams I can't get a read on at all, Pat. The Steelers have to be maybe the most inconsistent and confusing teams in the NFL.
They are,
because you have no idea what you're going to get out of them week in and week out.
Yeah, I was thinking it's the Steelers and the Saints right now. You don't know what you're going to get out of either of those teams. Like my buddies were putting bets down and they were like, yeah, we're not going to bet on the Saints because you have no idea what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to score 10 points or you're going to go score 40. You don't know what Jameis is going to do. I mean, Jameis looked good, but it's the same thing with the Steelers and honestly the Broncos at this point too, because Teddy played, he didn't look that bad, but the Steelers just looked better and it was a surprise. And honestly, the Juju injury isn't that bad for the Steelers. I would say, like it might be a reason just to have him go to a different team because Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool as a 1 and 2 are unreal. And now I get more targets. I just think it's an overall, it's not that bad. You know, it's not that bad for Juju because he can go somewhere else. I think that could benefit him. And clearly there's a new 1 and 2 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and hopefully a new quarterback at some point soon too, because
they need to draft a new quarterback. They really do. It's bad.
They could be pretty good if they had a legit quarterback over there, man. But you just can't trust Ben, his health, and his lack of mobility. That's for sure.
They should have started developing one like 2 years ago, honestly. That's what I said.
Should have gone with the Belichick plan. Just keep drafting quarterbacks just in case Tom Brady got old.
Would you, do you see how Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, how they were looking at each other? Was it last week? I mean, they were smiling big at each other. Imagine
they were flirting a little.
Yeah, it was flirtatious. Imagine Rodgers went to the Steelers. The green and yellow to the black and yellow.
I don't know. If you look at those old Packers jerseys, it looks like he could
They do
fit in
kind of,
with the Steelers.
It would be, I mean, it'd be sweet for Pittsburgh, not good for the AFC North and my Ravens.
It would, man. It would definitely look good for them. Chargers edging out the Browns. This game was crazy. 47 to 42, dude. Felt like there wasn't a punt to be seen during this game, but Herbert looks, I mean, I can't
Unreal.
even describe it. 400 passing yards, a bunch on the ground, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Baker looked fantastic. Neither defense looked great enough.
They did not look great.
Derwin James still had a nice sack. Gotta point out my defensive player of the year right there. But Pat, I gotta tell you, my takeaway from this game, it was the same thing they were saying on Get Up the next morning. I think it was Ryan Clark and Rex Ryan were saying it. The team with the franchise quarterback won this game.
Mhm.
The team with the A quarterback won, and the team with the B quarterback lost. And I hate saying it about Baker because I like Baker and I want to root for him, but he caps out at being like a B+ guy. And you look at Justin Herbert, who right now, next to Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, are the MVPs of the NFL. You see what that next level quarterback does. If you swap the quarterbacks, who wins this game? The Browns win if Justin Herbert is their quarterback. And I got to tell you, Herbert just looks incredible. He saved me in fantasy this week. He had like 44 points. But the Browns are in a great spot. The Chargers are in a great spot. But I just don't see the Browns getting it done with Baker at quarterback. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. But I got to tell you, that next wave of great young quarterbacks is here. You have Justin Herbert. You have Josh Allen. You have Pat Mahomes. You have Lamar Jackson. Baker's just not part of that list, man. He's just not part of that list for me.
I think Baker, I think with that defense that they have, like obviously they didn't look good, but they're well capable of way more than that. I mean, they held the Vikings to 7 points last week. I think with that defense, Baker could do something great with them. Like I do have faith in Baker. And I think people put way too much blame on him for that loss against the Chargers. I mean, I think his wife or fiance came out with a post and, you know, for all you people saying that's all on Baker, it's like you're terrible fans, which I agree. I mean, it's not all on Baker at all.
Baker played great. He did.
Yeah. And who has he had to throw to this year? I mean, Jarvis Landry was on IR. It is on IR. OBJ was out. He has David Njoku, who had a beast game, 7 catches for 149 yards. And then it's Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashard Higgins. And
Austin
again,
Hooper's still there?
Yes, he's there, but he doesn't really get utilized. And I don't know if he's injured or not. I haven't even really, he didn't have any catches last week, so I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Right.
But Njoku had all the targets and all the catches. And they do have the best backfield tandem in the entire league in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So they have all the capabilities. Obviously, rushing is different than receiving. So in terms of Baker, I think he'll be fine. Like you said, the Browns are in a good spot. And I think he could do something great with them. But the way Justin Herbert's looking, he has way more potential at this point.
Yeah, man. It's something about this new wave of quarterback where they're all 6'5". They all move really well. And they have cannons. Like Trevor Lawrence is 6'6", and he moves so well. And I'm like, man, it's this new wave. The Allen, the Mahomes. Oh, dude, they just look unbelievable. But I'm with you. I think Baker can be great. I mean, if you have an A defense and great targets out there, then you can win. But man, they keep saying it like, do the Browns win because of Baker Mayfield? I don't think so. The Chargers win because of Justin Herbert. Lamar, I mean, what would the Ravens be doing without Lamar? Like,
they won because of Lamar. No, you're right. It's a good point.
Team on my back right there. Now two teams that need some help, man. These Jets and these Falcons playing in London, man. It did not look pretty, but the Falcons get it done. Kyle Pitts has his coming out party. He has like 9 catches for 120 and a touchdown. Jets don't look great. And Pat, you put it on here, man. The fans in London, it is so funny to see, dude. It is hilarious to look at.
There's actually a good crowd there. I mean, I think there's a good NFL fan base in England. Like, I think they actually genuinely like it. And I could see them doing a London franchise. Logistically, travel might be tough, but I could see them trying to do that eventually. I think the Chargers originally were in talks that maybe before they went to LA, maybe going there, but obviously LA worked out for them. They got SoFi Stadium, wicked nice. Struggling for fans. Their last home game, there was where did they play? Did they play in Cleveland or they played in LA? Yeah, the announcers were saying there's a lot of Cleveland fans there, and they were making a lot of noise. So that's kind of tough when an Ohio team is at your home stadium, and you're struggling for fans. But that's besides the point. Yeah, I mean, the London crowd looked awesome. They got jerseys from every NFL team.
Yeah.
I said it reminded me of that Rob Lowe picture and meme where it's like him just wearing the NFL hat. Like it's just, I'm just a fan of the sport. I'm just a fan of the league. I do like it. But yeah, I think they packed Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, that brand new stadium that Tottenham has. Pat, I get the Rob Lowe comment when I wear my ESPN hat because it just says nothing but ESPN, and people tell me it reminds them of the Rob Lowe.
Yeah, it does kind of. Yeah, you're right.
Now, I mean, Falcons, they finally get back on track. Jets, Zach Wilson looked terrible, but who knows what's going to happen with the Jets this season. Moving on, dude. Packers beating the Bengals in overtime, and Pat, I got to tell you, even my girlfriend is like cracking up at the end of this game because we're watching the recap on Red Zone and missed field goal after missed field goal after missed field goal, dude. Mason Crosby misses 3. The Bengals kicker misses a couple, dude. This was kind of tough to watch at a point.
It was bad. I remember looking at the app and it said like the recent activity, recent drives. It said missed field goal, interception, missed field goal. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, I was watching it at Red Zone too, but yeah, like it was funny having it laid out like that for me because I didn't even realize how bad it was till I looked at it on my screen. I was like, wow. I was like, more kicker problems.
And you think first play of overtime, Burrow throws a pick. You're like, all right, Rodgers has the ball, 30 yards, easy field goal. Crosby misses it. They go down the field. The Bengals kicker misses it after hitting 2 game winners this year already, man. And you see him jump up and start celebrating before he realizes that it's missed. And I mean,
that was sad. That was pure pain. I saw that. I was like, oh, especially because
he's like our age, he's like,
yeah, you feel bad. 23. You feel bad. He's all pumped. Thought he had the big kick. No, not quite.
Rodgers gets down the field. Crosby ices it, man. That has to feel good for Mason Crosby because if you go 0 for 4, including 2 overtime field goals, man. Yeah, I'm not sure you're on the roster next week, even though you've been the Packers kicker for 10 years. Like, I'm not sure you stay on that team.
It could be justified.
Pat, the Eagles storm back against the Panthers, man. Obviously, Panthers are missing a bunch of guys. They're missing some guys on defense, but Jalen Hurts is accounting for over 80% of the Eagles' yards on offense right now. And, man, I got to tell you, I wish this boy had some help because Jalen Hurts is balling out. And, man, if he had some weapons out there, I feel like he could really be doing something. And the defense obviously has to hold up.
And of course, I didn't pick the Eagles this week, right? Like I feel like you convinced me not to. I picked the Panthers, and the Eagles came back. I mean, granted, they almost lost, but they came back and got the win. So good for the Eagles, but I should have picked them.
I'm just trying to sabotage your picks, Pat. It's all mine.
Yeah, I know. I should have known better. No McCaffrey, no JC Horn. I should have known better.
Raiders dropping their second straight game, Pat. They're playing the Bears, man. And somehow we turn around and the Bears are 3-2. Justin Fields winning 2 starts in a row, man. I mean, are the Bears going to do something that we didn't expect them to? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But by what I said last week that the Raiders might be fraudulent or overrated, I guess it looks a little better having said that last week, and now they lost to the Bears. So I wouldn't give the Bears too much credit. I think the Raiders just looked really bad, and now they got this coaching situation, so it's going to get even worse. So my prediction looked pretty good, but 3-2 now. I would have to check. We'll get into the matchups. I don't know who they're playing next week, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah, not feeling great about the Raiders after everything that's been going on in Las Vegas. Moving on, Cardinals 49ers, man. More injuries in this game. Trey Lance gets hurt too, but it's a defensive game, 17-10 in favor of the Cardinals, man. Cardinals keep that perfect record, don't they? 5-0. Are they the last?
Yeah,
team?
They're undefeated. Yeah, it was good to see the defense have a showing too. It was nice. It wasn't just on the offense. Like they got 17 points and still got the dub. So it's just showing how well-rounded they are.
Yeah, man. Hey, we both picked those Cardinals to win that NFC West, and I think that they're on their way. They look fantastic, and they're going to be a very interesting team come playoff time because I would not want to go against that offense, man. They have pieces left and right and everywhere over the field.
Very interesting. Yeah, AJ Green didn't even get used this past week. They throw to Rondale Moore a lot, it seems, but D-Hop had a great game. That
Rondale Moore catch on the left sideline. Oh my gosh, that was incredible.
He's good. Like he's very good. He came out of nowhere, but he's been very good this season.
I think he was a 2nd round pick this year. And I'm like, Man, you got AJ Green, D Hop, second
Yeah,
round draft choice. Give me Larry Fitzgerald, damn it. I need Larry Fitzgerald back on this team for one more season, Pat. I
I know.
do.
And then you got Christian Kirk, who I just see nothing about.
I know. And
It's always
Edmonds
Rondale
and
Moore.
James Conner. And
Yeah.
man, they got some pieces.
Christian Kirk
Moving-
Christian Kirk did have 5 catches this week, so
Oh, there
I
we
guess
go.
you're still seeing some of them, but it was only 39 yards, so
All
nothing to
right.
write
Well,
home about.
Patriots edging out the Texans, man. And this game was so ugly. It was terrible. We were getting whooped on by these Texans. Luckily, we came back. Mac was so good. He was so consistent in that second half. It was ugly at points, but Nick Folk hit some important kicks. The
Mhm.
Texans kind of crumbled. There was some terrible play calling and terrible clock management by David Culley for the Texans. We're not expecting a lot of the Texans. They moved to 1-4. But Pat, I'm feeling good about the Pats being 2-3, considering the Chiefs are 2-3 and Mahomes has 6 picks. Mac Jones has 5. So I'm just gonna let myself feel okay about that, even though these Patriots are not looking good.
Yeah, and we were saying, I mean, they were a good 1-3. We were saying that last week, and I still feel that way. And I think after the couple tough losses they had in those first 4 games, they deserve to come out of this with the win, even though it was an ugly performance and that they made the Texans look pretty good. I'm glad they still came out with the win, and I would say it's justified for them for sure.
Problem is we're playing the Cowboys next week, so I'm not
That is a
feeling too
problem.
good about that one.
But you'd be a real good looking 3-3 if you win that game, because that would be a great win.
That's very true. That's very true. Pat, I'm gonna let you take this one. Ravens Colts Monday Night Football. Ravens steal the show, man.
I know. And like I said at the beginning, I went to bed at halftime and I was just not feeling good. I had to watch the highlights today. The Ravens, I think in their first 5 games have played 3 primetime games. So I've literally watched 3 halves and then 2 full games. And I don't think they're
man.
yeah, I don't think I can't stay up late. I think they'll have I don't think they'll have any more. I think 3, Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. I don't know if they play those multiple times, but I would hope that they're done. And hopefully I can just catch the rest of the games. But I woke up this morning in shock because we did not look good. Things were looking bleak, but I wake up and Lamar had probably the best performance all around that he's had in his entire career. It was awesome. So we'll just go through the stats here. Well, first I'll give a shout out to Mark Andrews because Mark Andrews got that huge game-tying touchdown and then the 2-point conversion as well. Rodrigo Blankenship missed the field goal. And then Marquise Brown, what can you say, gets the TD in overtime. And when Lamar won the coin toss, he said it's over. That's what I saw on Twitter today on the Sports Center accounts. He said it's over once they won the coin toss. And watching that last drive, he sure looked like it too. He looked awesome. But the stats, anyways. He set the NFL record for completion percentage in both a 400-yard passing game and a 40-attempt passing game at 86%. He's the first QB in NFL history to complete 85% of passes in a 400-yard game. Franchise record of the Ravens for passing yards at 442, which I was kind of surprised that Flacco never hit that once just by chance because he always slung the ball. And then first player in NFL history with 400 yards passing, 4 TDs, 0 picks, and 50 yards rushing in a singular game, which they were kind of reaching with that last stat. That's a lot of different numbers, but, something to pad the resume. But he had an awesome performance.
Man, Dan Graziano said it on Get Up this morning. He's like, there's not a player in the league that's more valuable to their team than Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely
He does
not.
absolutely everything, and I love that he's shutting down all the haters. Oh, he can't pass the ball? Oh, he's not accurate? Oh, he has the most accurate 400-yard game of all time. Oh, he has the most accurate 40 pass attempt game of all time.
Yep.
Lamar looks incredible, man. And this was remember we talked about it before the year that he didn't sign the contract extension and we were like, all right, he's going to get a little less than Josh Allen. He's going to get he's going to get
paid.
He wants.
Yeah.
He's going to get whatever he wants. And the only thing that I fear is remember when they gave Joe Flacco all the money in the world and it blew up the entire roster.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that they learn from that mistake and can figure out how to build the roster the right way around him. Because you look at somewhere like Kansas City, they spend a lot of money on Pat Mahomes, and it's like, all right, they could use that money elsewhere. They're missing a lot of pieces. So Hopefully the Ravens can keep everyone together, but they look really, really good right now. They look
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
good.
And that's actually a great segue into the next game, which was Bills Chiefs, because the Chiefs had, I think, Kelsey had a stinger, and then there were a few other injuries as well. Like big players got injured. Joe Thuney, I think, broke something. I can't remember what it was. Joe Thuney is out. Yeah, I'd have to look up and exactly see what it was. But yeah, the Chiefs suffered some injuries, and it got a lot worse too because it was a blowout loss to the Bills.
Bills absolutely beat them up 38-20 in Arrowhead in Kansas City, which I think is big, man. And, my dad was kind of saying it. He's like, yeah, Mahomes is going to be there for a long time, but how long does Kelsey stay healthy? How long does Tyreek Hill stay around as the fastest guy in the league? Clyde Edwards-Helaire just got put on IR.
That was
having a great year.
CEH. Yep, he's done for a while.
Man, it's kind of looking bleak. And you put it on here, Pat. Are teams figuring the Chiefs out? I was reading that they were saying, yeah, what we're doing is we're making Mahomes play conservative. We're making him throw 5-yard balls because he doesn't want to. He wants to throw the 80, yard pass, the 60-yard pass. He wants those big plays. If you make him throw at the line of scrimmage, he's a lot less effective because he doesn't like making those throws. But I saw this stat, which blew my mind. The Chiefs are allowing 7.1 yards per play this season. Every time the other offense is on the field, 7.1 yards
averaging over a touchdown.
Right. And the best offense ever is the Rams in 2000, greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner, Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk. They average 7 yards of play on offense. The Chiefs are allowing more than that every single play, man. That is tough to come back from. They're sitting at 2-3, Pat. 2-3.
Yeah, it's tough because you literally have to play a mistake-free game at that point, and defenses are making Mahomes make mistakes. I believe he already has as many interceptions as he's threw all of last season, which I'm pretty sure was the number 6.
Yeah,
so
he picks this year.
Yeah, he's already totaled last year's total. So clearly something's working for opposing defenses. Maybe they've figured something out. And yeah, the Chiefs defense has not looked good at all. And I think that, if anything, I think their offense can always bounce back, but I don't think the defense can. I think that defense is going to be bottom 7 in the league all year. And if you have that, I mean, you really have to come out and it's just going to be a shootout every game. And the Bills put up 38 against them. Josh Allen looked awesome, but like you said, and the defenses are figuring it out, and the Chiefs only put up 20. So it just wasn't enough.
Pat, what if I told you that in the AFC West, the Chargers were 4-1, the Raiders and Broncos were 3-2, and the Chiefs were 2-3? I mean, what? That is nuts, dude. I mean, at this point, we got to think the Chargers are winning this division. I don't think the Chiefs are done. I don't think they're out. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I got to tell you, I think this is the Chargers division as it stands right now. I don't see the Chiefs, rattling off 6 in a row, 7 in a row. I don't see that happening.
Well, the Chargers having who they have. I mean, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams had a crazy week this week. Yeah. They have Austin Eckler. Their defense is great. The Chargers defense looks awesome. And then Herbert, if Herbert keeps playing like he's playing, they're going to be set because Jared Cook at tight end too. I mean, there's no shortage of options. The Chargers look great.
And Pat, somehow we have barely mentioned the Bills. We've only talked about the Chiefs here. But
I know the Bills, that's kind of bad on us. The Bills look great.
Are 4-1. They've won 4 in a row, scoring an ungodly amount of points. Their defenses looked great, and they are the best team in the AFC that isn't the Chargers. Those are the top 2 in the AFC than everyone else, in my opinion.
I guess credit to the Chiefs because the Bills had given up 21 points total in their last 3 games, as we noted last week, including 2 shutouts. Yeah. And the Chiefs put up 20, so they almost matched that. But it's like with Josh Allen and that offense, how well they're running. I mean, Josh Allen looks incredible. So, you got to put up 35 plus to compete with him.
That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Now, Pat, for our picks for last week, you went 10-6. I went 12-4, which means we're tied up. After 5 weeks of picks, man, after 80 games, we are 49-31 each, man. So it's going to be tight down the stretch, Pat.
It is.
I think we're doing all right. We're both sitting pretty well over 500, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, and maybe if we did these on paper separately, maybe the records would be different. Maybe we influence each other when we're picking, just in real time together. But I don't know. I still think it'd be very close because a lot of these matchups we've been pretty sure about.
Pick against the Eagles, Pat.
Yeah. Well, this time I am.
I don't blame you there, man. So we're starting off with that matchup of Bucks at Eagles in Philly. We're both going Bucks, right?
Yeah, it's 100%. Because even though the Eagles came back last week, they still didn't look good. So I just find it hard to believe that they'll do anything against Brady in prime time, no less.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun Thursday night game after Brady gets 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and no picks. I mean, just looking unreal for 44 years old. The guy is a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next game, Miami at Jacksonville. Pat, I'm going Jaguars to get their first win. The Dolphins scored some points last week. They didn't look terrible. Freaking Myles Gaskin, I put him on the bench for the first time, and he pops off for 30 points in fantasy, catching 2 touchdowns. But I'm going the Jaguars, get their first win. It's a home game. I know the travel's not crazy for Miami, but I'm not trusting Jacoby Brissett and Myles Gaskin and Devontae Parker to get it done. I'm going to give the Jags their first win, I think.
I tell you what, with the Myles Gaskin thing, at least you kept him on your bench, because in my other 2 leagues, people dropped him. He's literally on waivers, and I have a chance of getting him, which would be huge.
Score on waivers.
Yeah, because running backs is a struggle right now for me, at least. So not too bad of you to just put him on the bench, and you still won. But I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. They looked okay. They looked okay last week, despite getting. I mean, with who they were playing. I mean, the Bucs just are unreal. I think the Dolphins, just the drop in competition, like if they keep up how they played last week and play against the Jaguars, it's going to be a much better time. I think they'll get it done against Jacksonville.
What about Chiefs at Washington, Pat?
And Washington is going to be I think they're going to be a tough out in this game. I still just find it so hard to pick against the Chiefs. I know CEH is going to be hurt. I don't know if Kelsey's playing. I hope he plays. I imagine he will, but I think Mahomes will rectify some mistakes, and I think he'll look pretty good. I think the Chiefs get it done.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those, like, after taking a beating, like you don't want to play Pat Mahomes, and
no,
who knows? Maybe Washington shows out, but I'm going Chiefs because I feel like after a bad loss and after not looking great, it's time for Mahomes to go, Super Saiyan and just put the team on his back. Like, he
absolutely
needs to have those Lamar games. He needs to have those Herbert. He needs to be Pat Mahomes. He needs to be the best player in the NFL. That's who he is. That's what it is, man. So I'm going Chiefs there too.
Rams are a good pick.
What was that?
I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Rams at Giants. I mean, I'm going Rams, Pat. I don't think there's much discussion there.
No, this one's Rams all the way. The Giants, I don't know if they're not gonna have Saquon. Daniel Jones was hurt too. I think he'll play, but I'm honestly not sure. And Kenny Galladay is doubtful as well. So injuries, it's going to be Rams.
I agree with you there, man. Battle of the 1-4s in the AFC South. We got Houston visiting Indianapolis, Pat.
Lindy looked pretty good against the Ravens, and they're really not that bad. Like, it just depends how Carson's going to play. I think Carson will play well at home. I certainly think they'll play well enough to beat the Texans, because with how bad the Patriots looked and the Patriots still got the dub, I think the Colts can definitely do it.
I feel the same way. I mean, even though Carson Wentz is a little shaky and the Colts are 1-4, he didn't play the first couple of games. I don't think that Davis Mills is going to lead this team to 2 touchdown drives on their first 2 possessions like he did against the Patriots.
Think so either.
I think the Texans were also responding to getting a 40 piece in the mouth by the Bills the week prior. So I'm going to go Colts. I don't think the Texans have enough. If Tyrod Taylor was out there, I think I would pick the Texans, but I got to go Colts here.
I like the Colts pick.
Bengals at Lions, Pat. Joey B. I'm rocking with him. You can't pick against the Bengals right now.
I know. And I think maybe 2 weeks ago, part of me, I think I would have taken the Lions, but I have to take the Bengals. The Lions are 0-5, and they did lose a heartbreaker this week to the Vikings. I mean, the coach was crying. It was Dan Campbell. He was crying. It was sad. But he cares for the team, which I like to see. But I just don't think that's going to be enough to get him over how Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been playing.
Yeah, love and respect for your team is incredible, but it doesn't get a win, man. And I feel the same way. Joe Burrow, I think, I didn't mention him in that last class of just great young quarterbacks. He's right there, man. I am a absolutely huge Joe Burrow fan. I think that he has all the pieces, man. And I think him and Jamar Chase, man, I mean, that looks like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. That looks like Pat Mahomes, Tyreek. That looks like the next elite wide receiver quarterback combo. I love watching those two play, and it's not just because Jamar Chase is on my fantasy team. I promise.
Jamar Chase has looked unreal.
He has, man. He's the first rookie since Randy Moss to put up his stats in the first 5 games. Like he has a crazy amount of yards. He has like 6 touchdowns already. He's been incredible. He really has.
And it's funny coming from the preseason with like people talking about his drops and him saying that it was tough transitioning to the size of the ball. And then all of a sudden he comes out and he's putting up the stats he is. Like now he just had 6 for 159 and a touchdown.
He duped us, man. He was just trolling. He was like, "Oh, the cornerbacks won't cover me if I say I can't catch."
Just sandbagging the entire league. They're like, we don't need to worry about Jamar. He can't catch the ball.
Now we got the 4-1 Packers against the 3-2 Bears in Chicago at Soldier Field, man. Justin Fields won 2 in a row, Pat. Any love for the Bears?
They're 3-2, which is shocking to me. I can't even believe that I'm saying that record. I mean, at least at the very best, I would expect them to be 2-3, but 3-2, good for them, but it's not going to help them against the Packers. Rodgers will get it done in Chicago. Bears defense is really good, though.
Yeah, they did look good. I'm definitely going with Rodgers too, man. I'm going with the Pack for sure. I just can't see Justin Fields winning that game. But, man, we kept saying it. Matt Nagy, do you want to keep your job? Do you want to be a head coach for the Chicago Bears? Start Justin Fields. 1-2 games starting Justin Fields, man. It's nice to see him getting a little love and respect out there. I'm going with the Pack too. But, Pat, I'm going to let you pick this next game first because we got Chargers at B-More at the bank.
Well, I'm definitely nervous for this game. And it was funny because I was looking at preseason, like my buddy's a Chargers fan and then I'm a Ravens fan. So we were thinking about taking the train down to M&T Bank, but we didn't do it. We didn't pull the trigger. It would have been a lot for a Sunday trip.
You still got time.
It would have been a lot for a Sunday trip. So we didn't. We'll watch it from the comfort of our homes. But I got to take the Ravens in this one. I know they didn't start great against the Colts. It was a extremely slow start. They didn't do anything really till just about the fourth quarter. But I think they'll have a quicker start against the Chargers. I think they'll get it done at home. If it was in LA, I would probably pick the Chargers.
Even though there would be 60% Ravens fans there in that stadium.
This is true. I guess with the Chargers, that doesn't make that much of a difference.
I got to rock with the Chargers, man. And I'm kind of feeling a Chargers-Browns game here. I'm kind of feeling like
shootout, yeah.
41-38, both quarterbacks, 400 yards. I think this is going to be such an exciting game, man. I'm so glad that this is a 1:00 game and the Pats are 4:00 so that I can watch this game because I'm amped for it.
Absolutely.
Pat, I got to tell you, I'm kind of falling for this Chargers team a little bit. Like,
yeah,
I'm really into it. And I haven't had like a second NFL team in a long time. Back in the day, I used to love the 49ers because I loved Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, man. I just fell in love with that defense. And I really, really liked the 49ers back in the day. And I think the Chargers might be my West Coast team now. I think I'm kind of falling for them a little bit. I'm gonna pick the Chargers. I think Herbie gets it done, man. But both of these teams are so much fun to watch. And as a Patriots fan that doesn't have a stake in this game, I'm just so excited to watch it as a neutral. This is going to be a fantastic game. I am going Chargers, but I cannot wait for this game. I think this is the game of the week.
Yeah, I would say it is. It's going to be awesome. I think it's the best matchup. And it's funny you say that because I used to love Michael Crabtree and Frank Gore.
Yeah,
like they were two of my favorite players. And then Patrick Willis too. I even liked Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis was awesome at tight end. So the Niners used to be a lovable team, honestly.
And that's when Alex Smith was there. Joe Staley.
Yeah, Alex Smith had a smooth operation running until Kaepernick came in. But
Delaney Walker was their backup tight end. Dude. Great team, man.
Great
they
team.
Were awesome. All right, moving on. Vikings visiting the Panthers, man. I don't really know who to pick here, Pat. I'm struggling with this one a little bit.
I think the Vikings are going to get it done. The Panthers will have McCaffrey again, but I think the Vikings looked good, and for some reason, I feel like they'll get it done. I just said the Vikings looked good. They did not look good. They actually almost blew that game, but I think they will look good this week. They still managed to win, even though they looked ugly.
I'm gonna go with the Panthers. Little bounce back after these 2 losses in a row. I think McCaffrey just puts the ultimate juice back into this offense. And I think both teams are going to score a decent amount of points, but I'm going to go with the home team here. And I don't have much of a reason outside of they're playing at home and they get McCaffrey back. I don't have much analysis outside of that. We got the Cardinals visiting Cleveland.
This is the other game of the week. I mean, yeah, besides Ravens Chargers, this one's awesome. Cardinals, Browns. I'm gonna take Browns at home. I think Baker gets it done. I think Baker takes the O.
You just knew that I was gonna pick the Cards. Is that what?
Well, I knew you
I'm just
would, but I also have faith in Baker. You're
yeah, and
much for me. I gotta take him.
yeah. I mean, again, I like Baker. I just don't
Yeah,
think
you
he's at
didn't
that
trash
next
him.
level. I mean, if I'm gonna put Baker at a B+ cap, Kyler Murray, we don't know what his cap is yet. I mean, he hasn't been in the league long enough, but I think there's too many weapons on that offense. I think they go get it done. Their defense showed what they could do against the 49ers a bit. And the Cardinals, man, I think they moved to 6-0. I was high on this team before the season, and I'm going to keep rocking with them because they just keep looking good week in and week out.
You just know Stefanski's going to be whipping that defense into shape this week. Yeah. And I think the Cardinals are going to feel the brunt of that.
It's going to be another high-scoring game, and Baker's going to be out for blood after Baker's going to be out for blood after that last game.
Yeah,
and they wanted that win in Los Angeles. They really did. That was a tough game to lose.
So you think it'll be high scoring? I think it'll be a fair scoring affair. It's not going to be too bad.
All right,
I think the defense will come through.
We'll have to come back to that one, man. We got the Raiders visiting Denver and the Denver Broncos, man. This is another one where I don't know who to pick because both these teams have lost 2 in a row, and one of them is just going through a terrible situation with their head coach, or former head coach, I should say. Who we got here, Pat?
I think before the Gruden thing, I would have taken Raiders. I think they'll losing 2 straight. I think they'll get it done on the road, but losing the head coach and just there's so many distractions in the locker room. I feel like now I'm definitely going to take the Broncos in this one.
I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think that, Teddy Bridgewater has not looked great since he came back from that injury. I know it's in Denver, but I kind of feel like there's that new coach juice, there's a different energy. I feel like, this guy is an assistant coach getting an interim spot. He's going to want to show out. He's going to want to put some fun stuff in. He's going to want his players to buy into what he's doing. So I'm thinking there's that just new coach vibe and energy for a game 2, maybe 3. So I'm going to go with the Raiders here. If it was against the better team, I would not be picking the Raiders, but the Broncos, I don't have a lot of confidence in after the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't blame you. A few days I was there with you.
Yeah. Dallas Cowboys visiting my New England Patriots, Pat. Can I pick the Pats?
I'm going to take the boys, and I never want to pick the boys, but I will this week. Even though, and I hate rooting against the Patriots for your guys' sake, all the New England people, but I just think the Cowboys are going to get it done.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Cowboys are the better team. The Cowboys should win this game. I believe the Cowboys will win this game, but I'm going to pick the Patriots just because I have to. I can't spin it around because I got the headphones on, but I got the Pats hat on right now, man. And, if we can go in prime time toe-to-toe with Brady and the Bucks, let's see what we can do against the Cowboys. I feel like we got a fighting chance against anybody. I feel like we're the underdog a little bit. And it's a home game, so let's see what we can do at Gillette. I'm going to go with the Patriots there.
That's going to help out, is that it's at Gillette. And I actually think your defense will do well against them, but with how they looked against the Texans last week.
Yeah. Gutting out a win at the end of the 4th quarter against Houston does not make me feel good.
Gutting it out.
Then we got the Seahawks without Russell Wilson visiting the Steelers there, Pat.
Steelers will get it done in Pittsburgh. No Russell Wilson. Steelers looked okay last week. I think home field advantage will be huge. And I think Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool they're going to eat up that Seattle secondary.
I feel that same way. I'm going Steelers. And if Russell Wilson's playing, I'm picking the Seahawks because I love Russell Wilson, but I got to go Steelers there. You got the Bills visiting the Titans, Pat, in that Monday night primetime game. This is going to be a good game too.
It is going to be good. Hopefully Julio will be back for the Titans, but I still don't think it'll make much of a difference, even if he is. The way the Bills looked last week against the Chiefs, I got to go with Josh Allen and the Bills.
The Bills are way too hot right now. I mean, after the last 4 games, they're averaging like 38 points a game.
It's tough to bet against. Yeah.
They're dominating.
Extremely tough.
Will Julio play? We don't know. It is in Tennessee. It's a primetime game. I always want to root for my boy Mike Vrabel, but I gotta go with the Bills here without a doubt.
Bills in primetime is a bad proposition for any opponent.
That's a good point. That's absolutely a good point. Pat, that's it for picks, man. We'll get back to week 6 next week. As always, review those games. But now we got to get on to some listener questions now. Pat, you want to ask these first two since you threw them on here?
Yeah, I had two. I know I never contribute to the listener questions. I know you've had a few, but I know we're not listeners. Well, we kind of are. But I was like, is this hype for a football team or is this a weird thing? Because so Coastal Carolina beat Arkansas State earlier. It was last Saturday, and this is two random schools, but I saw this clip on Twitter and I was like, this is unbelievable. And I wish I could show it, but Coastal Carolina beat Arkansas State. And I guess Arkansas State's mascot is a wolf. And you see the locker room and the coach is chainsawing the head off of a stuffed wolf, which looked pretty lifelike. Like it almost looked like taxidermied. It was strange.
I was a little worried when I first saw the clip.
Yeah. And then you see, you're like, oh, that's obviously fake. That's not even taxidermied, but yeah. With a chainsaw, and it just looked aggressive and it kind of looked uncomfortable. The players weren't really that into it. Like there were a few like, all right, yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I want to know what you guys would think about that one. If you haven't seen it, go watch the video. I've never been on a football team in my life. I know they do crazy things to hype each other up. Jameis, eating a W, but this one I could not get behind. This one was not for me.
The original question was hype or weird. The answer is weird. Anyone who says hype,
not hype,
to be like a hillbilly lumberjack that hunts and does all that, man. Because one, a chainsaw in a locker room makes me uncomfortable. Okay?
Yeah, that alone, right?
There are 90 young men in that locker room, bunch of coaches, reporters, all this stuff, and you're busting out a chainsaw while you're out. That makes me uncomfortable. Also, cutting the head off a fake wolf, dude, it's just weird. When you do this at practice on Monday when there's no cameras and it's just your team and you're outdoors, okay?
100%.
It was very weird to me. It made me uncomfortable viewing it personally. And like you said, the players were kind of like looking around like, what's going on here? It was weird.
Yeah, I don't know what the traditions are down at Coastal Carolina, but I can't imagine this will be one they keep.
But this also means that you were planning this before the game. Like
they brought the wolf
and wolf ready to go.
Yeah, like no one just has a chainsaw at the facility. Like that's not even in like a janitor's closet. That's not just a tool.
Pat, I'm going to ask you your next question so that I have a second to think about it. But what is the greatest sports moment that you have witnessed in person?
So it's funny because this will seem insignificant to a lot of people, but it was probably when I was like 10 years old and in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is like right near where I live, which it seems very insignificant to, like the rest of the world. And like, to me, I'm like, this isn't even like a real city, but at the Mass Mutual Center there, it's like our downtown center where we have a minor league hockey team too. It's where the Thunderbirds play, but they would have, so for college basketball, they would have the Division II game there every year. They would have the Elite Eight. So obviously not D1 like Kentucky and all them, but D2, which was still really good basketball. And it was cool because my city would have the Elite Eight and they would always come. So we would always go. We would always get tickets. Me and my brothers and my dad, we'd always get tickets to like a Final Four game and then a championship game. And one year, we saw Barton College versus Winona State. So Winona State had won like their last 50 something games. They had won the last year's tournament that we went to. And then they were in it again this year. And they were beating Barton, who was a heavy underdog, like the whole tournament they were. And Winona State was up, I think it was 7 or 9 points with like 45 seconds left. And Barton came all the way back and tied it up. And then they got a turnover, and then on a last second layup, as the buzzer went off, they scored and won the game. It was unbelievable. Like if you haven't seen the clip, I'm sure you haven't. I actually posted it on Twitter, so you could go to my Twitter at Pat Mahoney 33. But Barton College beating Winona State in championship game, and it was unbelievable. Like I was 10 years old, and at the time I was like, I didn't even understand really what I was seeing. But now that I think about it, I'm like, that doesn't happen like ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, the fact that you remember that from when you're 10, like that's what sports is all about right there, dude. I mean,
in full detail.
That lasting memory. I mean, that is absolutely spectacular. I don't have anything as cool as that. I I don't have a specific moment that I can think of, Pat, but I will say I remember going to a playoff game for the Celtics, first round playoffs. It was those Knicks that had Carmelo, Amari Stoudemire, and it was during Linsanity. So it
Oh,
was that.
that's cool.
So it wasn't during the crazy Linsanity run where he averaged like 34 a game. It was a little bit after that. But getting to see Jeremy Lin play was just like, how old was I at the time? Like 14, 15, whatever.
Probably about
Getting to
that.
see Jeremy Lin play with all the hype and spectacle that built around him was like real special, man. Like the Boston fans cheering for him in the Garden. Like he put up, almost 30 points, I think. And
Mhm.
dude, watching Jeremy Lin play during Lin's, he was the biggest sports figure in the world for a couple weeks. And be it like just getting to be part of that season was pretty cool for me because I don't have a specific great sports moment that I can think of.
I would say that's it. That on a different level, that's just as cool as
Yeah.
mine because that's something that only existed in a small space of time in the entire sports world, and like that'll never happen again. So it was cool that
Yeah.
you got to see any part of that.
And just, I mean, such a cultural moment, like with
Absolutely.
being the first, Asian player since Yao Ming to really dominate and just seeing all the Boston fans of those
Mhm.
certain cultures rally around this guy. It was really cool, man. It was really cool getting to see him in the Garden live. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, that is awesome. In the TD Garden too. Awesome.
Yeah. Question from Joe Hagan. Where does Rafael Devers rank among all the recent Boston sports stars, Pat? He's got to be pretty close to the top of the list. And when I'm thinking recent, I'm not going like JD Martinez, Chris Sale. I'm going like young guys. I'm going Jason Tatum. I'm going Jaylen Brown. I'm going David Pasternak. Like, I think Rafi is that next guy. I mean, he's right there with Xander, but when it comes to Boston, man, I mean, he is as special of an athlete as we have. I mean, he's right under like Jason Tatum, like Jaylen Brown. Like he's in that category. Mac Jones, even, when you think about it now.
Yeah, he's in that next wave of young superstars. And yeah, those are all good comparisons. Like I would say they're all on kind of a similar level, like Devers, even Bogarts,
Yeah.
Pasternak, Jason Tatum, probably not quite Jaylen Brown, but Jason Tatum for sure. Yeah. Mac Jones.
There's some fantastic young players in Boston right now, man. He's right at the top of that list. Question from Brett. Is Kike Hernandez having a David Ortiz-esque playoff run? I got to tell you, man, 7 straight hits in the playoffs set a Red Sox record. Think about that.
That's
Ted
clutch.
Williams, David Ortiz, legends of the game, never 7 in a row, man. It's tough to say David Ortiz-esque because David Ortiz did it in the championship series and in the World Series, so we may have to wait a little bit longer. And they're also home runs. I mean, Poppy's all about the home runs.
Yeah.
Kike is the contact guy.
Ortiz's were more iconic, I would say.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I think if you had a modern day MVP for this Red Sox team right now, it's Kike Hernandez. He's been our best player in the playoffs. Vasquez has been clutch as all hell, but I mean, Kike 7 in a row, hitting the walk-off sacrifice fly to send us to the ALCS. Kike is having a run for the ages right now for this Red Sox. He's the team MVP in the playoffs without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right, man. Jimmy McQuaid, what is the most underpaid professional sport? And we gotta pick one, Pat. Do you think it's those professional speed walkers in the Olympics? Do you think it's something like that?
See, for this one, like I think for what they're doing, I think the most underpaid professional sport, and I would just a specific league too, because obviously the UFC, because obviously
Yes.
MMA, there's a bunch of leagues around the world and they all get paid different amounts under different promotions. But the UFC, I mean, they're literally in there fighting, beating the hell out of each other. I mean, you see what like Max Holloway did to Calvin Kattar, just the poor New England guy. I mean, I loved Calvin Kattar. He took like 400 something, the most punches ever in a fight to the face in a UFC fight. So for what these guys are getting paid, and I forget what it is, like the rest of the leagues are like a 50-50 revenue split. And in the UFC, I can't even remember what it is, but I'm actually going to look it up because the split is crazy.
Yeah. No, but Pat, I'm absolutely with you, man. That was my first thought. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, okay, I can't go with any of the weird, obscure sports that I like because as a rock climber, as a runner, there's no like organized affiliations that you make money off of. And it's very hard to make a living in those different sports. So I started thinking about, okay, what are the mainstream sports like this? and it has to be MMA, man. I said it on this podcast one time. I was listening to Brendan Schaub talk, who is a very good UFC fighter, like top 10 in his
division. Yeah, he was
all
at the
this stuff.
time. Yeah, he was at the time for sure.
His biggest purse ever was 16K in, 16K out. Had to pay taxes in Brazil, in the States, to his team, to the UFC, to the all this stuff. Walked away with $6,000 after getting his face beaten, man. So I think the UFC's got to be the most underpaid, like, mainstream professional sport right now.
Yeah, and the only thing justifying it is like the sport hasn't been around that long and it's continuing to grow. I mean, it's going to grow exponentially. Like, it's already on the same level as boxing, if not passing it, and it's going to get even bigger. So it's going to be up there with maybe eventually, obviously not now, maybe eventually baseball, football. Like, it's going to be on the upper echelon of sports. But the whole thing right now is just the split, because I looked it up. So this is a quote from Masvidal, Jorge Masvidal, back in July of last year, said this 18% crap has to go. So it's a UFC revenue split of 18% to the fighters. So that would be what, 82% to just the higher ups and whatever else. That's crazy. Because with how little they're getting paid, even if they made the revenue split 25%, that would boost everyone's paychecks probably exponentially from what they're making now. So it's definitely UFC for me.
And Dana's going to say, oh, but we're the biggest promotion. Oh, no one markets like, yeah, Dana, pay your fighters, man. I mean, pay your fighters.
They should get paid more. And I think they will eventually as the sport grows, but it's going to take some sort of unionization for the fighters to do it like now, to start a collective change right now.
Well said. Well said. Another question from Brett. Thoughts on the new jumper rules in the NBA? You can't really draw contact in the same way, Pat. Steph Curry was the first one in a preseason game to not get the call. Standing, gets a guy up in the air, jumps into him. No call. It's a non-foul. I absolutely love it. I think it's a long time coming. You shouldn't be able to jump with your side and your shoulder and throw a ball straight into the air and get 3 free throws for it. I think it's good. I think it's a small step into playing basketball. Jumping into defenders is not playing basketball. Let's let the defenders defend. Let's let the offensive players play offense. Let's play basketball. None of the ticky-tacky BS. Let's just play, man. I love this. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, this was a great question for Brett too, because I forgot to even like bring this up and put it in our episode doc. I completely forgot about this new rule, but I saw that clip of Curry and I thought at the time, I was like, wow, I was like, thank God this is done. I hate seeing it because it's ridiculous. You see James Harden do it and he gets a 4-point play out of it, or anyone, but I've seen James Harden do it specifically, and it needed to go. I'm glad it's gone. It just was some ridiculous crap.
Feels like a small step in the right direction when it comes to officiating in the NBA, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And rounded it out, last question from Brett, man. Wolverine versus Cougar. That's the hypothetical animal fight of the week. And Pat, as someone that has watched an unnecessary amount of nature documentaries, I feel very confident in picking the Wolverine right here. Those things, dude, they're small, but they are deadly. They are literal little tanks, man. They will rip apart animals 10 times the size of them. I got to go Wolverine here, man. Cougar's got the size. Cougar's got the quickness. I got to go Wolverine here.
And if it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I would definitely take the Wolverine. But no, honestly, I don't. Cougars I know are terrifying. Wolverines are such a mysterious animal. I don't know much about them, but if you're the one who's watching the nature docs, and I've watched Planet Earth, but they don't go over Wolverines at any point. I don't think Cougars either. But if you're saying Wolverine, I'll take your word for it.
Man, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure they're the largest weasel out there, but they just like can kill anything, man. They look so small. They're not,
but they're deadly.
They will tear you apart like that, dude. Like, they're known for killing prey that are like 4 or 5 times the size. They're nuts. I gotta go Wolverine here.
Cougar seems like it'd be tough to deal with.
Yeah, I'm all set on fighting either of these guys.
Well, yeah, sure. We're not talking about a 1v1v1 here. We're not throwing a human in the mix.
No turkey a day or orangutan fights today, Pat. No, none of those. Just Cougar versus
no snapping turtles.
But Pat, got to move on to what we've learned before we wrap up the show. But of course, little add in from Book Thinkers. So do you read personal development books? If so, you got to check out Book Thinkers. This company is dedicated to helping you fulfill your life through books every single day. They post on IG every single day. They release a new podcast every single week with a top author in the personal development space. And the team over at Book Thinkers is helping you discover new books and new mentors that you can use to achieve more and live better. The right book can absolutely change your life if you read it at the right time. So please find out more by heading over to Book Thinkers on Instagram or going to www.bookthinkers.com. But now, Pat, tell me what you learned this week.
So what I learned from watching that Colts Ravens game on Monday night was that the Ravens aren't always pretty. And I kind of knew this, but I mean, after last night, it's like they really aren't always pretty, but they get the job done. I mean, they're 4-1 now. Our offense sucked the entire game. We were down 22-3, I believe. Then it was 25-9 because we tried to go for 2 and didn't get it. I mean, we had the fumble from Lamar. Lamar is prone to some turnovers, especially the fumbles, which we got to get a little bit better at taking care of the ball. But I tell you what, even though we're not always pretty, they get the job done. They're 4-1 now. I think we're going to have good luck against the Chargers this week, so I'm happy for that. But yeah, I hate those turnovers. Sometimes when it's bad, like it looks really bad, but when they're good, they're as on as any team can be.
Especially when you see that turnover and it's on like the 4-yard line or 3-yard.
Yeah, that
line,
was tough. That fumble was a bad one. That was a hard one to swallow. And that was in the first half. And I was like, even more reason for me to go to bed. I was like, if there's going to be more of this, I'm done.
Yeah. Like you said, though, man, they get it done at the end of the day. They get the dub, and that's what's important. And those are the kind of games that you have to grind out in the playoffs. And having that experience is definitely valuable.
Yeah, they're better for it afterwards.
Now, Pat, because this is our Pat Ricard episode number 42, I figured I'm going to go with a little bit of fullback love on our What We've Learned segment, man. So what I learned this week is that you remember former Patriots fullback James Devlin? Do you remember him, number 46?
Of course I do.
James Devlin ran the Boston Marathon yesterday. It was on Monday,
oh, wow.
man. So my man James Devlin went and got that Boston Marathon done. So I wanted to shout him out, congratulate him, because man, there aren't many fullbacks that I think could run 26 miles. So I wanted to give a little fullback love out here. But even more importantly, Pat, Jakob Johnson, who is the Patriots fullback now, he has been the last couple of years since Devlin retired, went out to Boston to support former fullback James Devlin, man. So we got James Devlin running it, Jakob Johnson being there to give him support, give him some love. So I just want to shout out the fullbacks in New England, man, because there's some serious fullback love going on at the Boston Marathon. So that's what I learned this week, man. James Devlin out there running the marathon, and Jakob Johnson. That's a family over there in New England. That's what I like to see.
Hey, we're a fullback podcast, and that's a lot of man to be running a marathon. So, like I think about like Pat Ricard running a marathon. I'm like, that would be impressive.
I know there was a video of him jogging, and I was like, that is just a lot of
that's a bowling ball. Yeah, just a bowling ball.
It's a lot of meat running a marathon right there, dude. Like that's a big boy.
Gotta love the fullbacks.
But Pat, that ends episode 42, man. How we feeling? Feeling good about this one, Rafael?
Oh, that was good. Yeah, a lot going on this week. We had a ton going on. We had the Kyrie news. We had the Gruden resignation. I've been wanting to say firing, but it was technically a resignation. It's kind of out of I forget what I was gonna compare it to, like a breakup. It's like it's not you, it's me, but like it's the most certainly you.
Hey, Raiders made out good because he resigned. They saved like $70 million. They would have had to pay him out some contract if they fired him.
That's true. Yeah, they did kind of get bailed out. And hey, maybe that's the good in Gruden. Maybe he was probably like, I'm not gonna make you fork over $70 million. So that's a kindness.
But definitely a loaded week in sports, man. It's fun to talk about. Get to do an episode a little bit longer than we have been lately, man. It's always good getting on here talking. And as always, please hit like, subscribe, comment, share, save any button you can see. I'm sure it's going to help us in one way or another. Please send this podcast to that one sports fan in your life that isn't listening to a good sports podcast, or send it to them so they have a second one. But Pat, that's episode 42. We just want to say shout out to all the listeners. Thank all the listeners for spending this time with us, man. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. That's episode 42.
And catch us on Let Me Speak this week.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah, good plug.
One more time.
Let Me Speak. Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that next week too. But hope you enjoy this episode. Hope you enjoy our appearance on Joe Braverman's podcast, Let Me Speak. And that's episode 42, y'all.
See you, everybody.
Peace.
You are listening to Right Off the Bus.